so that when law emanates from within the framework of society, it regulates everything that we do as a society, be it politics, economics, our cultural traits. So law then becomes a social contract in where we do everything in accordance with that contract that we have agreed on. And of course, the social contract here becomes the constitution, which becomes the highest law in the land. And we go to Article 2 of our Constitution of Kenya 2010, it talks about the supremacy of the constitution. And it says that the Constitution of Kenya binds all organs. All organs. So it doesn't matter whether you are parliament, whether you are the executive, whether you are even the judiciary or parastatals or wherever it is, you are bound by the constitution and you must respect the constitution. And that any inconsistencies with the constitution remains null and void from the very beginning. So whatever happened in parliament, in the National Assembly, and in the Senate does not excuse the fact that a person whose rights are infringed under the Constitution cannot approach courts of law and say, I've been mistreated. I've been denied the fair trial as per Article 50 of the Constitution. Now, if you go to the question of Rigathi Gachagua, we look at Article 145, Subarticle 5. And Subarticle 5 talks about, is expressed that the person being impeached, in this particular case, Gachagua, shall appear before a committee of parliament, or now that the Senate converted itself from that committee of the 11 members into a committee of the all, they ought to have, by dint of that Article 145, Subarticle 5, they were to have afforded Gachagua that presence which he necessarily needs. Again, if you read that article together with the standing orders of the Senate, the standing orders say that in exceptional circumstances, that Senate can actually afford a person being impeached, can actually extend its time. Now, those are the standing orders. All these were overlooked by the Senate when they are trying Gachagua. And I agree with everybody who has said here, it's not that we love Gachagua. It is the manner in which he was being treated, the manner in which the law was being applied. And this is where I agree with Diamond, that you don't have to love Gachagua, but everybody deserves is a right to defend himself. Now, again, I want to take you back to Article 150, Subarticle 2 of the Constitution of Kenya. It's also very explicit that the impeachment of a deputy president should follow the same, script as in Article 144 and 145 relating to the impeachment of a president. And the Constitution says with necessary modification. Now, we did not see any necessary modification from the Senate. And I say this because there was no state of emergency in Kenya to actually impeach Gachagua. We all saw the manner in which the whole process was rushed. It was rushed in such a way that you can clearly see this was a political lynching of a person called Gachagua. And I agree, again, I think with Mizani and whoever spoke earlier before that, the people of Kenya elected Gachagua because it was one ticket of the president and his running mate. And we all know we are not strangers in this country. When a president chooses his running mate, he considers what does the running mate bring on the table? Where does the running mate come? What are the political or emotions that emanate from that region? In this particular case, the Murima region. I want to believe, and I stand to be corrected, I know a majority of people from the Murima, especially from Kikuyu land. I'm talking about, for example, counties like Kiambu, Murang'a, Kirinyaga, Nyeri, Nyandarua, and partly part of Nakuru, Laikipia. They must have gone to that ballot and said, okay, I can see our son is in that ballot. That is just the character and nature of our politics. We cannot ignore this. I'm not saying it's necessarily the right thing, but that is how we play our politics. So Gachagua was rightfully elected alongside President William Ruto, not as a co-president, but we also know behind the scenes, and I can tell you this, having participated in raw politics myself as a candidate in 2017, and also doing the Punguza Mizigo Constitutional Amendment Bill, people do those calculations of tribalism, tribal politics. It's our own. You will hear the nation of Mulembe say, it's our turn. That's just unfortunately the character of our politics. So I don't agree that the manner in which Gachagua was actually tried was within the framework of the law. They say that that was politics, but politics must operate within the legal framework. Okay, politics must be regulated, and that's where the law is above. And that's why I started for you Article 2 of the Constitution, that is supreme. The Constitution is supreme. It binds all organs across the board. Now, on the question of the nomination of Kindiki under Article 149, yes, the president shall nominate, as the Constitution says, and Parliament shall vote on that nomination. But look at the discrepancies around the nomination of Kindiki Kithure. The president, in his memorandum to the National Assembly, assumed that we are in an election mode, that Kindiki was being elected. Kindiki was not being elected. He was being nominated by President William Ruto. But if you look at his memorandum, it takes us back to 2022 when IEBC must clear both candidates. That is the president and his running mate. You saw him purport that IEBC has cleared Kindiki. The impeachment of Gachagua ended about 1 a.m. When were the IEBC offices open so as to clear Kindiki? And even then, the clearing agency for Kindiki is actually the commissioners, presided over by the national presiding officer, returning officer, called Chebukati at that time. Chebukati is not there anymore. We don't have commissioners. So there is no way Marijan, who is an ex-official member of the commission, could actually have cleared Kindiki. In any case, it was not a necessary move because this is not an election. This is a president replacing his deputy. He nominates him. So the shenanigans of purporting that he has cleared help, he has been cleared by EACC, when were these offices open? You see, the whole thing looks very laughable and is actually leaving an egg on the face of President William Ruto. It is, I mean, we are not stupid people. We can see on the face of it that actually the whole thing was choreographed. The whole thing was predetermined. That once we have used, and I think this is also comes to the politics of use and dump. Once we have used Gachagua to bring in the vote from the rich mountain area, now I'm president, therefore I'm going to dump him as I wish. And let's draw parallels here, colleagues, fellow Kenyans. Let's draw parallels. As bad as Uhuru was, as people said then, he tolerated his deputy then, now President William Ruto, for 10 years. And there is no person who actually disrespected or insulted his president more than President William Ruto when he actually disrespected Uhuru. We all know that he disparaged him, called him all manner of names, a drunkard and all that. And that is partly why I think for me, Uhuru now appears to be the angel that we never had. Because Uhuru must have thought, I do not want to bring acrimony, disunity, dissatisfaction in the country. Just like the same way now Ruto has actually done it. And when I speak to my shemejis from the mountain, they say, you know what, Gachagua is not perfect. But how is he being mistreated? You know, Uhuru never mistreated Ruto. And we knew Ruto claimed that he's actually the one who delivered the presidency because he campaigned so hard, more than Uhuru Kenyatta. But he went chest stamping. I think, yes, if today you are to replace the name Rigathi Gachagua in that charge sheet, in that impeachment motion, with that of William Ruto, the list will even be more longer than the 11 charges that are being faced by Gachagua. So the question for me is really, what is the impact? We are where we are today because of a very bad tribal leadership. Today there is no politician in Kenya, especially the rural politicians, who can say that they don't mobilize ethnic. They don't mobilize their ethnic. The reason some of them run back to their rural constituencies is because they want to rely either on their ethnic numbers, they want to rely on their clans. That is all ethnic mobilization. When you accuse Gachagua, for example, of saying undermining the president, we never saw an affidavit from the president or a complaint from the president. And these are some of the rigors of law. That's why a court of law should be able to interrogate this, because Parliament failed to interrogate. You have people saying that they are scholars, they are PhDs in law, but they could not think on what are the requirements of law in terms of the Evidence Act. If you accuse me of having disrespected the president, for example, where is the complaint from my supervisor, as one of the senators asked? Did President Uhuru Kenyatta actually complain? that Rigathi Gachagua has actually disrespected me. When you say that the man has stolen 5.2 billion Kenya shillings, from which ministry? This is the question that we ask as litigation lawyers. From which ministry? How come we have not seen a criminal complaint against Gachagua? How did he get this money? Is he a ghost? Did he go into Central Bank of Kenya and actually stole that money in the darkness? When we say that the man undermines devolution, we need to see evidence. Unfortunately, Parliament did not interrogate this charge sheet, this impeachment motion against Gachagua. And that's why we are in the state we are, where now, at the risk of compromising our constitution, is a very lackluster, at the midst of that, is a very lackluster, fakeless political leadership. And for me, I think we are here because Mizani, the real. I want to ask us, to challenge us. We have refused to participate in politics, and I again still want to remind us of the wisdom of Plato back in the days, that our non-participation in politics is that we will be governed by our inferiors, or will be ruled by our inferiors. This is exactly what's happening today in Kenya, when you see the kind of shenanigans we witnessed in Parliament, where you have a mover of the motion, a supposed lawyer, who keeps on saying, I believe. It appears on the face of it. He couldn't substantiate any of the allegations. So I think unless there is any specific clarification for me, I want to yield the mic to others. I understand you want to end the show, and I thank you for having me on the platform.
Asante sana kwa kutazama Ruto'S TV. Kama uja subscribe na kuomba uweze kusubscribe. Kama umesubscribe, nasema asante sana. Unaweza finya notification bell ndio wakati wote tunapata habari kama hii unakuwa wa kwanza kuipata. Hadi wakati mwingine, nakutakia mchana ama usiku mwema. Asante sana.